Hi, welcome back to the channel, Michelle, and today I'm going to be talking about my budget. Someone recently commented on one of my videos asking if I could share my actual budget. Now, I do have two videos up about my homeschool budget, which I'll link up above if you want to see the specifics of that. But within that video, I also talk about how I budget in many areas, not just homeschool. I have a Christmas budget, I have a general all-encompassing budget, I have a renovation budget. So I'm very into budgeting, and the question was, how do I budget? And I use an Excel spreadsheet. That's just the easiest way for me to do it. Everything, I can't lose a piece of paper. It also gives me the ability to track spending and predict future spending. So if I know an expense is coming up and I need to know how that's going to impact our normal monthly budget, I can see that, I can project that future spending and how it's going to impact things. So that's the first question, is I use an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm going to actually show you how I break down. And the person said, I didn't have to use real numbers if I wasn't comfortable with that, but I'm completely fine sharing my actual monthly budget with real numbers on it. I think there's a lack of that on especially social media, and that could be, for a variety of reasons. Some people aren't comfortable. I think finances are very personal, much like, your religious beliefs. People get very uncomfortable talking about those things. But I think it's also really important to discuss, because I think there's a lot of income disparity when it comes to social media. And what I mean by that is we get this little glimpse into someone's world. That doesn't mean we understand what's going on or their situation they're living in. I think especially when you're talking about, the homeschooling community, when you're talking about your ability to budget, the resources you're able to buy, your budget, how much you can spend impacts those things. Homeschooling does cost money. It does require resources. That's my opinion. Some people say you can do it really cheap or free. I disagree. At some point, you're going to have to pay for something. And that's something to be considered in homeschooling. That's one of the reasons I share my homeschool budget. But I really wanted to share my actual budget with you too, because I think like I said, we see a certain point of view on YouTube, social media. There are many different levels of income. There's many different situations families are living in. And I think we need to be able to see those situations, especially when we're talking about like homeschool curriculum, picks for next year and things like that. It's very easy to get that don't have enough or feel bad about, you're not in that I can buy anything I see, or you're in that I can only buy a couple resources. I think seeing a variety of that helps us realize that we're not the only one that struggles financially. I'm here to be honest. If you're new to my channel, all the income produced from ad revenue, that's the only thing I do. I don't do sponsorships or affiliates, goes to charitable donations. And I've been told there's videos of people kind of complaining about that I think I'm better than other content creators because I choose to do that, or somehow I don't need that money, that it must be so nice to, not have to rely on that. And that's not the situation at all. We're a single income family. My husband makes between $55,000 and $60,000 a year, depending on, how things end up working, because he's a pastor. So there are things like mileage reimbursement and things that come into play with that. But I think very few people are going to come on here and say, this is our income, this is how much I make from sponsorships or affiliates, or this is how I get paid. And that's everybody's personal choice, every content creator's personal choice. But if you know anything about my channel, I'm very straightforward with you guys. I'm not going to skew something to make myself look better or hide the fact that I am making money in a certain way. So I wanted to show my budget for those of you out there who have to live on a budget. I recently did a Q&A with my husband. One of the questions was, how do you live within your means? I'll link that up above. How do you live within your means and maintain your homeschool budget? And the answer is pretty simple for us. We've always had to live within our means. We've never had a large disposable income to work from, and we've come from families where finances were a struggle. So I think bringing that conversation to this platform for those many of us out there that don't fit into that box of being able to buy everything, anything, that we should be represented too, and that it's okay to live on a budget and to have financial restraints. That doesn't make you less of someone. So I'm going to turn you around and show you my budget and walk you through my expenses and how I organize things, and just some tips for budgeting in general that I've done. Like I said in that Q&A video, we've budgeted our entire adult lives because we've had to. So I have a lot of experience with budgeting. A simplified version of my budget. Now, I do not have the exact budget because that exact budget has personal information on it that I don't want shared, like, what companies I use for my credit card. I don't think that's information that needs to be shared, but the numbers you're going to see here are accurate. I did round to the nearest 10, so you don't see like 50 cents or anything like that on there, but it is the accurate portrayal of our budget. I did move it over here because I didn't want to see you guys to see personal information that pertains to me. So as you can see down here, I have different budgets. This is the budget I'm going to show you. So I just copied and pasted the 3 months projected, the next 3 months projected to show you. But again, I'm not going to show you this exact budget because it has a lot of personal information that should not be on the internet. So I do have a renovation list, which I can show you here. This is just simple. We live in a very old house. It's over 100 years old, and there's a lot of things that need to be updated or fixed on it. And I'm not just saying cosmetic, like we had to replace the roof, we had to put in a sub pump, so things that actually keep the house going. So I do keep a list of the things we've done. So for example, we've put in a bathroom, and it helps me project what the cost of those is and how much we need to save. Because again, with that one income budget, being able to save isn't easy. So having the ability to see, okay, if I put this amount away now, how long until I can reach that goal? I think having that goal in mind helps me stay within the budget and not buy those, impulse items. So I do, when we did, so for this, it was the bathroom renovation we did, I do put the actual cost we spent on it. So it cost us about $1,800 to put in a bathroom, and my husband did all the work with that, the plumbing and everything. So yeah, that is our renovation budget. I have a tracking spending budget. I have a student loan. Both my husband and I have multiple student loans. I have a Christmas budget. I'm not going to show you that specific because, again, it has a lot of personal information. But if you're curious, our Christmas budget is about $1,300 a year. You've seen my homeschool budget. That's nothing new. And so let's look at the actual budget I have monthly. So this is what's going into the month. This is what we have. The blue is the money we have available to us. So I'm going to start off in April here. So gas, we spend about $70 you can see gas will be on here twice. So gas, the beginning will probably be my van. This $40 in gas will be my husband's Prius because he has a hybrid car. It doesn't really need gas that much. So that is his, and my van, I do a lot of in-town driving. I don't do anything more than 20 minutes outside of town. So that saves me gas there. In homeschooling, we don't have to go out all the time. Another item you'll see here is charitable giving. So some of this is tithing to our church. That is something that is important to our family, and being able to do that, we try to aim for 10% of our income goes to charitable giving. And that's not easy when you're on a single income. And that's one of the reasons we budget, because this is a priority to us and we want to make sure we have the money available, because like I've said before, we've come from financially struggling situations, and there are times in my life personally when I've had to rely on the charitable giving of others. So being able to give back is very important to me. And have we had to change this number in the past? Absolutely. Expenses come up. It's not a set in stone number. That's why you can see it's a couple times. So twice a month, or so 4 times a month, and some of that is church giving. But that number can be flexible. We've had to lower it in the past when expenses have come up. But if we're able to make it a higher number, that's great too. But having a set, at least we want to aim for this. So this is the cell phone. Again, my husband and I have our cell phones paid off. So that is just the cell phone plan. This would be one of my student loans you see here. I pay that monthly. And my oldest daughter takes horse lessons, and that is the fee for a monthly fee. She does it every week for an hour and a half, and that includes all the supplies and everything needed. My husband's life insurance policy. So roof, you can see here, this is a pretty large number. So a couple years ago, we had to get a new roof. It was literally leaking into my daughter's room, and we had it on the renovation list. We try not to do something until we have the actual amount of money, but in that situation, we did have some money, but not the total amount that it would cost, so we did have to finance a large portion of it. And in doing so, whenever we have extra money, we try to, kind of like the snowball Dave Ramsey method, throw money at it. So you'll see this has an extra $2,000. Our normal roof payment is $200 a month if you're curious, or $209 technically. But we got some tax money back. So we took that money and, again, rolled it into the roof payment so it can be paid off earlier. So we're not having a roof payment that lasts 7 years. So whenever we have that little bit of extra money, we put it towards those debts that we have. So our normal payment is $209, but due to getting some money back at taxes this year, we were able to put $2,000 towards that. So shortly after filming this, literally within a couple days of filming this budget video, there was a change to the budget. I wanted to insert this clip to give a realistic version of my budget. So that $2,000 that was supposed to go towards the extra roof payment changed. We actually had our water heater decide to completely die, and it's a 40-gallon water heater, so when it died, it literally dumped 40 gallons of water all over our basement floor. Luckily, we don't have a finished basement, so that wasn't the issue, but we had to get the water heater unit removed, replaced, and some piping fixed, so that ended up costing, we just got the bill today, that's why I decided to insert the clip, is $1,200. So that $1,200 will have to come out of that $2,000 extra payment. So we will actually only be making an $800 extra payment, so it would be about $1,000 towards the roof payment this for April instead of the $2,000. But that's a realistic budget because, especially when you live in an old house, things just happen or vehicles break down and repairs need to happen, and that's completely fine, but I wanted to give you a realistic little side note of our budget before it was finalized. Birthdays, this is my oldest daughter's birthday. This is a rental fee for where she wants to have her birthday. She wants to have a roller rink party, and it provides the food, the decorations, the favors for the kids that come, and everybody gets to skate for free. We've already purchased her presents and everything like that. That was in March's budget. But again, being able to foreshadow what expenses are coming up and being able to budget for that to make sure you have the money in it so you don't have to rely on things like credit cards. So taxes. So because my husband is a pastor, it's technically seen as a self-employment type situation. So in order not to pay a ridiculous amount into taxes every year, we chose to do quarterly taxes. So 4 times a year, we will pay $700 into that quarterly taxes so we don't get a big tax bill at the end of the month. But you can see why budgeting is so important. This is a big expense. $700 is a large expense for us. This was my husband's student loan. This is my student loan that we're still paying off. Cable, so we just do the Hulu Disney Plus, that's $20 a month. The gas for our house, electricity, again, that's that charitable giving. And then groceries, we spend about $300 every 2 weeks. Sometimes that does go higher, but I do try to keep it under that $300, which isn't always easy because we are a gluten-free family of 5 because of my daughter's celiac disease, and anything gluten-free is naturally more expensive. So you can see here, this is, and I do color code because it makes it easier, so this is the total expenses of this. So I just take what's currently we have as our income minus the expenses for that 2-week period, and that gives me what's left over. And then I'll put in my husband's paycheck, so $2,300 is what he makes every 2 weeks. And that leaves us with this amount of money. So this is the second half of the month. So anything paid before the 15th is all here. Anything paid after the 15th is in here. So savings, I'll explain that in a minute. So internet, this is a credit card. So I purchased some curriculum recently, so that will have to be paid. We try not to have revolving credit card payments. If we purchase something, we pay it off right away. So if we don't have the money, we try not to purchase it. Or mortgage payment or monthly mortgage payment. Again, we live in the Midwest in a more rural area, so it's going to be, in my opinion, a lower mortgage payment. We recently bought a camper last summer, and I have a whole video on that. I can link up above. But we did have some money to put down on it, but again, we financed some of it, so that is our monthly camper payment. So you can see this other credit card payment. This is pretty high. So in a recent video, I talked about how we went to Costco and we spent over $600. So that's where this is. This is it getting paid off. So you'll also see here, there are some revolving charges that go on our credit card. So my kid's tablet, subscription, diapers, wipes, dog food, those are, like Amazon subscribe and save things that are constantly. But again, making sure we have that, because I talked about in that grocery haul that it will affect groceries for the next 2-week period since I've spent so much at Costco. Water bill, we have to pay our camper insurance and our car insurance this month. So this is not every month. I think this is only maybe quarterly or twice a year. I don't remember the exacts of that, but again, this is one of those things that come up that aren't in our monthly budget that I need to make sure are in there, because that's $565 right there, which is a big chunk of money when you're dealing with, an income this size. So there's that other chunk of charitable giving. Now there are 3 Sundays, I believe, in April. That's why it's a little higher. So there would be another additional $80 that we put towards our church. And it's not just for, church maintenance. This goes to the worldwide church, to different organizations, Lutheran World Relief, things like that. Groceries, this is the second half of the month grocery budget. Gas, this is usually when my husband will have to gas. Sewage, this is where we're at with that. So again, same thing you saw before. This number right here is all of this. And this is why I do it in Excel, because it's just super easy to put in a formula here and have it figured out. This is our monthly or our 2-week expenses for the second half of the month. This was the first 2 weeks, the second 2 weeks. So you can see that leaves us with that much, and then my husband gets paid, and we're down to here, which takes us to May. So this is the beginning balance we have going into May. So you can see it's very different from this because we had that tax money to go towards the roof, but we're getting in, this is one of the reasons I want to show you different months as well, because we don't always have, we have, varying expenses. So going in, same thing, gas, charitable giving, cell phone, student loan. A lot of these are, every day or every month expenses. Our roof payment will be about $200 or $209, I think is the exact number if I remember correctly. But that's our normal roof payment, not with anything extra. This is curriculum I anticipate purchasing, so I put it in the budget to make sure we have the money for it. Cable's the same, electricity, house gas, charitable giving, groceries, that's all the same. So same thing here, that's what this is. Afterwards, this is what we have left after the first 2 weeks of the month. Add my husband's paycheck, that's where we are here. So internet, so credit card, you can see there's nothing on here. I don't anticipate purchasing anything, so it's a blank. Mortgage stays the same. Camper, this is just the revolving Amazon subscribe type things I talked about. Water bill, this is our normal charitable giving, the $80. Groceries, gas, sewage, etc. So you can see we don't have, besides the roof, so the revolving debt you would say we have is the roof and the camper. So those were our big expenses. Both of our vehicles are paid off. We worked really hard to get those paid off. So we're lucky in that aspect, but it took a lot of planning and again, budgeting to have those things. We try not to carry things like credit card debt when possible. So this takes us into June. So you're going to see a very similar outline to the previous months. A lot of these are revolving expenses, but here, again, you see we have the quarterly tax payment due. So I need to make sure we have $700 towards that. So that is the same. And then I do anticipate having another Costco run, not as large as the last one, but I will put this in as projected spending. That way I'm not overspending here. I never want this to go to a negative number, obviously. Mortgage, all that's the same. So that gives you a overview of the next 3 months of kind of how our budget's going to work and how savings works here. So I don't fill in how much to put towards savings until the end of the month. So as you can see here, May, this is what we have at the end of the month. So theoretically, I could put $500 into savings. And that will affect all these numbers here. I never try to make it too high because you never know what expenses are going to come up or when something needs to be repaired or something goes wrong with your car. So I did write over here, this is our income. This is our monthly income for a family of 5. And again, that will give you a yearly income of about $55,000 to $60,000 after things like mileage reimbursement. These are our expenses. It ranges normally, not counting things like quarterly taxes or extra payments to things, are just baseline expenses is $3,200 to $4,000 a month. So if you take that minus that, our disposable income, so everything after bills are paid, groceries are bought, all our necessities in life are paid for. We have anywhere ranging from $600 to $1,400 in disposable income a month. Now, do we always get to use that? Absolutely not. There are months where we get hit with things like multiple car renewal or insurance, things like that, where we have to pay. So there's times we don't even get to touch any of that disposable income. But I think that's important to talk about, that there is a wide range, that I absolutely know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck, and we lived like that for a very long time. And it took us a very long time to get out of that cycle, but through a lot of hard work and planning. It didn't just happen overnight. It wasn't magical. It took a lot of intention to get there. So that is an overview of our monthly budget. So I hope that was helpful, and it kind of gives you a glimpse into what it's like to be a single income family that's budgeting and doing the best they can with the resources they have. And like I said before, we've been budgeting our entire adult lives. So where we are now is very different than where we were 5 years ago or even 10 years ago, and so on and so on. We've constantly tried to do a little better, to be a little bit more financially secure, and it's not always easy. And in order to have the ability to stay home, which I completely understand, it is a privilege, and I agree with that. Same with homeschooling. It's a privilege that I have the time and resources to do those things. But in order to do those things, to have those opportunities, I do have to make financial sacrifices. I do have to budget. I do have to prioritize my money, because we don't have a large discretionary or disposable income every month. That's just not where we're at. Could I go out and get a job and bring in more money? Yes, that would raise our income bracket, but it would also diminish the amount of time I have to work at home or do homeschooling and things like that. So it's a balancing act. So we're willing to take less of an income in order for me to do these other things that are important to our family. And same thing with budgeting. Like if we want to go on a family vacation, again, our family vacations are like camping. We went to a water park last year, but things like that, it has to be budgeted. There's no, oh, on a whim, let's go. Or there's no going to Disney World right now. That's just not feasible for my family. And I think it's okay to talk about that. I think it's okay to talk about living on a budget and not feeling like you're less because you have. It's so easy to compare ourselves on social media. I'm sure there's people on here that are like, wow, you have a lot more than I. And that's true. I'm very thankful for where we are. I am in a much better position than my mother was at my age, and I think about that it's not always easy to make these budgeting decisions or to prioritize your spending, but I strive to be in a better financial position than previous generations. So if you have any specific questions about my budgeting, or if you would like to see something else in regards to this, please leave it in the comments below. If not, thank you for watching.